You got the countries all the way on the bottom that are just, I mean, they're nightmares, and they probably just score a 0 on everything, right? But there must also be a pretty broad range of regimes that are toward the bottom, but not that. So do you find that they tend to are they all messed up for completely different reasons, or do they sort of cluster around specific things, or how does that play out?
No, so first of all, start with the countries where their democracy score starts to come down, right? The United States is a good example. We've been going downhill for one reason, that's Congress, right?
Fair enough.
Our functional government score is not doing so well because they fight too much. Israel's another good example. They have stellar scores except on civil liberties because they got all these suicide bombers, right? So you do see that the different countries have different problems as they start to erode. Now at the very, very bottom, I think that the list splits up, and I'm trying to scroll down to the bottom here, but you have two different kinds of countries. You have extraordinarily oppressive authoritarian regimes that don't have democratic institutions because they're authoritarian. And then you have countries that don't have democratic institutions because they don't have any institutions at all. They're so poor. And from an international development standpoint, I think that that's complicated. What we're doing.
Would you consider those countries to be kind of outside your sphere of influence at your fund? It seems like if there are no institutions, then there's not much you can do.
Yeah, and our fund does large cap stocks, really. So there's no large cap companies in those. But like if you looked at the moon would score 0 on the Democracy Index.
Fair enough.
So it's we've looked at what we're calling the Developing Democracy Index, which is really for the emerging countries, and it tries to account for simply being terribly poor. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a big difference between being filthy rich and having a 0, and being incredibly poor and scoring a 0.